Okay, we're going live.
To open up the window a little bit. So I can see.
Hello, welcome everyone. This is January 2025, the Unlimited Show, and excited to be here with Adam. This is a big day. It's a big day for a lot of things. Speaking of disclosure, tell
Yeah.
them what you found today.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the wait was not very long for some secrets of the past. RFK Jr.,
Martin Luther King.
MLK. Was there anything else?
No, the Martin Luther King I was surprised
Yeah.
about, but
Full
yeah.
disclosure is imminent. It's been signed into law that they're going to disclose all of that, and we are very hopeful that the
Yeah.
next step will be
Oh.
ET, UFO, however you like to phrase it, that full disclosure is preemptive. It's coming very
Yeah,
soon. Very soon. Like
very
we're not gonna have to
soon.
wait. So it's just
And
Well,
amazing. It's an
yeah,
amazing time. And when we see all of the different disclosure things that are coming out, craft retrieval crews are talking about their experience. We're very hopeful.
this
yes.
this is part of the disclosure right here. So
Yeah,
it's not coming. It's it's already here, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that we have to think, right? In order for it to come, we have to imagine, know, think, feel that it's already here. So that's it. So we
I
don't.
think you.
We don't have to wait for Dr. Greer to be like, okay, here's all this information that in consciousness that you can already that we know already, right? You know, you know that it's kind of what was the X Files? The truth is out there. Like that was like back in the 80s and 90s. The truth is out there. Now it's not out here. It's here now. And we really have to live it. So what we're doing tonight is really part of the overall disclosure. We are like a huge little part of this disclosure project, right? So
Yes, it's very
yeah.
exciting. Welcome,
So
everyone. We are going to be introducing Standing Bear right now because we met Standing Bear at Ben Bowler's Peace Week in Japan 2024 with Erica. And after we had done Contact Japan, where she had organized this incredible project there, and we met you there. And Standing Bear is incredible. He has an incredible past. He was taken in the 1960s as a baby to a white family from a Native American family. It was called the 60s Scoop. And he grew up with a family that wasn't his own. And he eventually found his mother. He eventually became a champion swimmer of the US championship team. I mean, this is like incredible feats, incredible championship. And he is now an explorer of consciousness and a shaman as well. So he has so much direct experience with understanding consciousness, looking at it from different perspectives. And we're so honored to have him here tonight. He's an expert remote viewer. He's an expert in off-planet species. He is going to be talking about scalar frequency, the two worlds, the unseen and the seen worlds. And so we're really excited. And we also wanted to just quickly say that we just got back from our own contact experience. Want to tell them about it? It was so briefly, real quick. It was so wonderful. And it was great to be getting the downloads and working with Standing Bear as well throughout the process.
We were in a remote area, and I guess it was something to get excited about. We saw small orbs and we saw them morph into ribbons of light that snuck their way in and around us in a really delightful way. It was super pleasant. There were pranic type blue and pink energies that were floating in the heavens above us, and it's just so welcoming and so pleasant to interact with these.
And we set up the experience to do face-to-face contact, and then I turned on all the radios, and then they talked through the radios. And Adam was like, "What are you doing, man? You set up a face-to-face meeting, and then you called them on the telephone for the whole meeting." And it's like, oh my God. And then I was like, because we did it from 4 to 6 in the morning. And then I went and took a bath, and I sat in the bath and I looked at the track lights in the bathtub, and the lights were communicating. They were still answering my questions. I would say it out loud and they would answer. So it was spectacular. But since then, Standing Bear has had some contact, and he was like, he had it before we did the experience. He had it during had the experience. And then we did the other experience the day after, where it was a big download. And then he's gotten it tonight leading up to tonight. So I'm going to leave the floor to you. And I want to celebrate this perspective change, this rapid perspective change. Disclosures happening could be any moment, like it's already happening. So it's really exciting to have that perspective change.
And I think I'd like to qualify and see if I have any agreement from you. When I'm talking about disclosure, it isn't for us really. It's for the common person that's still sort of on the fence with that. And I guess the overall will be that we can start having open dialogue, and that the common person is going to become aligned with that. They're really going to raise their consciousness rapidly.
Right.
And we're going to be there in love, you guys. So love them through. It's a lot of things, a lot of fast things. So be that love, like if you can be that loving thing, because like they, yeah. So it's exciting. So
it's very exciting.
Standing Bear, let's we used to do 60 seconds before we started all our broadcasts, but then 60 seconds of dead air time on YouTube was pretty crazy. So, but let's do it right now that we're settling in to your energy, the energy of the people around every one of you guys, right? Because tonight we're talking about consciousness. And that is the most important thing of everything, of all of the equations, of all of the everything. And tonight we're going to go deep with Standing Bear. So Standing Bear, I'm going to go ahead and put a timer. I have sent you the Facebook link in your WhatsApp, and I'm going to go ahead and set a timer here for 60 seconds of silence. And then you can take it away. Here we go. Standing Bear, you are muted right now.
I'm muted. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are.
It's 2:30 in London, right?
2:30 in the morning now. Yeah. So we are in the middle of the night, which is really, there's always a lot of activity this time at night. So it's always like some sort of like door opens up and all these beautiful things happen. So it's kind of like normal now, except I'm actually up instead of in that beautiful dream time place, that place of consciousness and opening up and really this place called love. because that's what we're talking to. So, yeah. Again, if no one said that they love you today, I love you all very much, and yeah, it's an honor for me to be here, to share my experience, to share a little bit about what has been shared shared with me, and yeah, I'm probably one of the most unlikely people to have this kind of conversation. Like, my background doesn't dictate, which is really an education also, because you don't need a doctor's degree, you don't need a physics degree to really connect to this thing called life. And this thing called life is also called consciousness, the great law of one, which is what um, the star beings talk about. They don't really talk in terms of consciousness. They talk about the law of one, and at the beginning I didn't quite get that, but we'll talk about that more here. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. So we're really excited. It was so funny because on the pre-call, everybody, I was like, okay, tell me more about the law of one. And he's going to explain it in a really amazing way. And we're going to go deeper on that. And we wanted to talk to you about this idea of two worlds. You said that's the most important thing that people understand. There's the seen and the unseen. And
right.
You do talks all over the world, you do programs, you do workshops, you do classes, you do books. So anyway, explain to us, what is this idea of the two worlds?
The two worlds. So it's a basic principle of indigenous spirituality, right? So there's the physical, the spiritual, right? And they are intertwined together. So we cannot have one without the other. So we need the physical bodies to hold consciousness, right? Right. Because because the mind cannot live without the consciousness. The body cannot live without the consciousness. It's so that's in scale that's a base convenient definition for the law of one. That the physical and the spiritual, they always mirror. They mirror each other all the time. That's yeah.
Yeah, the depth of this question, the question, is really open to all of us. I love that you expressed that, because even the most sophisticated quantum mechanical scientist will just write down consciousness as the hard problem and leave it at that.
Right.
And so this exploration that we're diving into is so close to my heart, and the exploration of consciousness. Could you go a little into like how you view it, how it plays a role in everything that we're doing, and just how you see it?
Well, consciousness, life, um, same thing. How we get there. That's a big question. That's a big question. So let's do some background first. Because that's kind of like the end question, where is we're going to lose people. Um, you know, if we start at the end, but we need to start at the beginning. We need to start at that beautiful sunrise, and that beautiful. We have to allow those doors to open, right? Right. And that really begins. Consciousness begins with our relationship with Earth, relationship with the trees, relationship with the water. That's how it started for me. I had no idea so I've been walking the Red Road for over 30 years now. I had no idea 30 years ago that we'd be even having this conversation. I'm hearing the Facebook Live in the background, so it's kind of.
Oh, that's not good. So can you turn down the volume on that device on your?
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, that can be very distracting.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little distracted because I was hearing
Oh
myself.
yeah, that's horrible. I can't think when.
So okay, so yeah, 30 years ago, I had no idea that we would be even having this conversation. It really our trip to consciousness really, my trip to consciousness really started with my own personal healing. Being a child, the 60s group, it was the Canadian government came in, stole me from my tribe, gave me to a church-run orphanage, church-run foster care, and then I was sold to a white American family. Did not grow up these indigenous ways, right? That's the beginning of my story. That's the beginning of my consciousness, right there. So really, and then I met grandfather Tony. He's my own. I met him about 20, and I can really remember. I was talking to him, and he gave me a bag of tobacco, and he told me to go over to the fire, and he told me to give offerings to the fire, and I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm just walking over to this inanimate fire, and I'm thinking, I'm rejected. He doesn't love me. He doesn't, I'm just talking to this fire, and so I started to just talk to the fire, just like he said, and let me tell you the story. Real short story. So started the Red Road Show. Started to go to these sweat lodges. Put the tobacco. Started feeding. I started praying to the fire. Probably about 2 or 3 years into it, I was in this violent pattern, this drug induced pattern. Pulling out of it, but my mind was still wounded, right? And so there's a part of me that broke. I said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't drink. I can't drug. I can't do the violence anymore. And so tears started to come down, right? Just real tears. And I remember I took this little pinch of tobacco and said, just whatever it is, don't. I can't do this. I can't live. I'm not going to live. And so I offered this tobacco to the fire. And guess what happened? So this little fire, like if you imagine a little fire right here, right? Then it shot up about 20 feet. The fire itself. So yeah, I know. And then I was like, I don't know what that was. What? So then I thought, well, maybe it was just a thing. So took the tobacco again, did it again. Heartfelt. And it did it again. Shot up about 20, 25 feet. And then I realized that the fire was speaking to me. In fact, the fire heard me the whole time. The fire was listening. And, that's the other thing, the consciousness listens all the time. It hears everything that we say all the time. Every thought, every word is a frequency. We're putting it out there. That's part of our truth, right? And when we start speaking our truth, consciousness is there. It's drawn closer to us. So then we begin to hear and understand the world around us. So we live in a world that we're not even connected to, right? We live on our. So my experience towards towards your question is connect to the world that is connected to you. Connect to the medicines that are connected to you. That's so. There's no physics degree. There's no science degree. The consciousness is all about connection to this beautiful thing called life. And um, yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. You have described consciousness to me in so many ways that have like really like
Yeah.
really, opened my mind. And one of the things I was explaining to Adam is that I always thought like, are beings on the other side, are they in like beyond the veil? Are they outside of my consciousness? Like, can they be the one that like, oh, we got permission to do the fire thing? Cool, push it, and like, is there anything outside of it? And you are like, no, it's the law of one. It's everything is all. It's the universe of universe. Explain this more, like this understanding of how it's like even angels, beings, all of it's connected. Like right?
So physical, spiritual, it's all happening now, right? So as I'm talking to you, you're listening. So again, so the way they explained it was like a TV, right? So I haven't had a TV in 20 years. So apparently there's like 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 channels. Spend a week, scrolling through it. But the thing is, all these channels are happening now, which is a scaled down version of exactly what we're talking about right now. So we don't have I see all these people, and this may be their truth. Like we call in the star beings, we call in these interdimensional, we call this, we're calling them in, like, they may be scratching their head, like, I don't know, I think we're already here, right? It sounds spiritual. So, I'm this person that just connected to the star beings, the star seeds, and all that. And I said, well, all I have to do, they're here with us right now. You don't have to call them in, right? It's just everything is happening right now. Once you understand the law of what everything is happening right here, right now. So you don't need any shaman classes. You don't need any physics lessons. You don't need anything. Just speak from your heart. That's the deal. It is so simple. Speak from your heart. So when I say love, the frequency has changed. Your heart has changed. The body. So if the frequency changes, the spiritual frequency changes, our body changes, right? Because they have to mirror each other, right? So when we live in loving ways, what are we doing? We are connecting to that beautiful consciousness, that law, and the better understanding of the law of one. And I didn't understand what the law of one was, umpteen years ago when I started talking about this thing. So the star beings, they've been with me since the beginning. Um, I was in the orphanage, and I can remember these beings just coming to me, and I can remember them taking me, and I was in, and I didn't know what it was. They didn't really explain. I didn't understand. I didn't have the language to explain myself. I was just there. I was just there. And all these beings, these tall, these short, different colors and different shades, and all this stuff. They would just take me, right? And I thought it was horrific, and demons and all this. I thought it was possessed. I thought it was like, that social narrative that the church gives you, will keep us sick, right? And so when I got to Grandfather Tony and I started to explain to Tony the fire, the water, the ceremony itself, they started to explain who they are, what they are, and really connecting me to a much larger world. We are the world is the universe. The world. So there's a physical world, the planets, right? Right. That's a physical, right? So the planets and the spiritual, it's the same thing, right? Right. That's how remote viewing works. That's the groundwork for everything right there. Consciousness is the groundwork for everything. So when we start to connect to that consciousness, let me tell you my tree story, because it told me to tell my tree story. So my tree story. So my cousin came down from Onion Lake, Saskatchewan. I was living in Miami at the time, and at a sweat lodge circle, um, he brought this medicine about connecting the hearts. It was really beautiful. It wasn't really indigenous medicine, but it was still beautiful, right? So I'm kind of scratching my head. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, connecting the hearts, the people, just the people. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. That's his medicine, that's his thing. And so Grandfather Tony said, like, if you have any questions, you can always ask. Ask here, write this down. Ask. Always ask the universe. But when you're ready to ask, you have to be ready to listen. And we aren't taught. We aren't taught how to listen. Consciousness is listening, right? That's the other half of consciousness is listening, and nobody tells us how to listen. So the next day, I'm sitting in my morning meditation again with the tobacco, and I'm saying, the heart medicine. I said that's beautiful, and there's a lizard, walking by, and I said, well, that has a heart. A bird flies by, I said, well, that has a heart. And now I'm looking at this tree, this beautiful live oak tree, and I said, well, where is your heart, right? Where's your heart? So I go over and I ask the tree. I said, where is your heart? And then I placed the tobacco um, at the base of the tree. And the next day, prayer is about asking. Prayer is about preparation, right? Everything is about preparation, right? Especially when we feel that we're not really connected yet, right? Um, which basically means that you have to listen harder, right? Because it's not out there. Consciousness lives here, right? Right. So 1 week passes. Every morning, that tobacco. 6 weeks later, I'm still doing it because prayer, consciousness is about preparation. It's always about preparation, preparing ourselves, listening. Right? And 6 weeks later, on that morning, I sang the same prayer over again, with the same tobacco. And I walk over to the tree, and I hear it says, I am all heart. And tears start running down my eyes, And I heard it like I hear you. I am all heart, and tears. I'm like, wow, how can that be? It's like, then I put the place of tobacco, then I touch the base of the tree, and it says, that is my heart. Then I go down to the root system right there, and they said, that is also my heart. Then I walk over to the branch, the first branch I see. I said, that is also my heart. And I go over to the leaves, and I'm hearing this thing. This is all my heart. Right? And tears. It's just, this is something so beautiful and so powerful. But what they were teaching me was a lesson in consciousness, a lesson in connection, a lesson to how to listen to this beautiful thing called life. Right? And so, then they asked me a question, and they asked me to share this. So the Standing Nation, we call them the Standing Nation, has asked me to share this story every time that I speak. And they asked me, can you be all heart all the time? Right? Right? Because it's easy, it's easy when the romance and finance are good. But when those life storms come, when it gets dark out, when things happen, that's that's when it matters most. That's when our connection matters most. Like it's not when the skies are blue and there's no wind and everything is good and nothing's on the horizon. It's easy to love. It's easy to connect. But the thing with consciousness, it's not. Consciousness is not an event. Consciousness is the way we live. It's what we're supposed to be connected to all the time, right? So we have to start thinking and living in terms of absolute connection. And consciousness is not a maybe, right? It's not like, you go to these seminars and there's a guru up there saying, you have to do all this stuff. And no, it's just, no, it's so simple as talking to a tree, right? That's, no law degree, no physics degree, no science degree. Speak with your heart. That's what consciousness is. Right? And the closer you get to your heart, the closer you get to the truth, the closer we are to living that consciousness. We are living conscious beings, right? Right. And our perspective changes, and nothing will ever be the same once we live in that consciousness, right? So back then, these star beings, they started to talk to me, and I didn't know what they were talking about, right? But it wasn't until I really began to heal myself in earnest that I really started to understand that garbled message. It sounded like you remember Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
Growing up. Wah, 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 wah. That's what it sounded like, right? Right. Wah, 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 wah. And then the closer we get, the more connected and loved we feel, right? And frequency, love, consciousness, it's all the same thing. That's the law of one, right? So love is a connection to the fire. Consciousness is a connection to the fire. Love is connection to the earth. Consciousness is a connection to the earth, right? And that's just the beginning. That's the first letter in the book of consciousness right there, right? And then the second letter is, off, like we call it off planet, we call it off planet, but really it's a singular consciousness, right? So we don't have to be out there in order to hear them here, right? So again, we're going to talk about remote viewing. Well, we don't have to go anywhere, right? Connect to the earth, connected to us. That's again the first letter in remote viewing. Like they started to show me these places, and they plopped me down, and I remember I just started to kind of look around and just be like, wow, this is wow. And then I started, and then they told me to walk around them, but I didn't know I could walk. So I started walking around. I said, yeah, okay, just kind of, not physical, but just kind of like, and started to walk past trees, and it's all available to us. What we are experiencing now as humanity, this is evolution, right? This isn't, there's a narrative that this is like paranormal. This is not paranormal. This is evolution, right? The evolution of humanity, the evolution of our mind, to that beautiful place of connection, right? Right, right. So, this is kind of like a different comment, but, we live in a world where they're keeping that away from us, right? Right. They're doing everything that they can to stop us from this beautiful flow and this beautiful consciousness. That's the old thing, right? Right. what they're finding out is they can't stop the incoming tide. They can't do it. Right. That's like one person trying to hold the tide back, or trying to stop a river. It cannot happen. Right. And they're doing it through religion. Right. Religion is one of the worst things that ever happened to humanity. Right. Because that's the old law of one. And as we experience the law of one, I don't know, 1,000 years ago, the patriarchy said, I am the one. Right. It's like this one God consciousness, just one person. And, that worked back then, right? Well, maybe it did. But now the understanding of it is, there's always an I in the we, right? That's the law of one. So the old religious narrative doesn't work, right? Right. The society tells us what to think, not how to think. Right? The law of one says this is paranormal. No, this is not paranormal. And really, through everything that they're doing to the human body, it's absolutely horrific, right? To the foods that they give us, the processed foods, blocking the input output carrier signals from our neurons, from the mind, right? You're blocking the flow in our bodies, right? The medical system is not designed for the spirit, for consciousness, because if it was, we would most likely already be there. So they're slowing it down. But again, they can't stop this, right? But they can't stop our minds from thinking. They can't stop our minds from what's happening now, what's happening here, right? So they can't stop the here, and they can't stop the now. Right? If they could, they would just slaughter us all, Yeah. But they can't do that. But they're trying. They're trying in different ways to slaughter us, right? Every new imaginable way they're trying to kill the human spirit, to kill that human consciousness. And so let me explain a little bit about what this consciousness is. So, now we think, so we're so divided, we're so separated, right? So, the human spirit says, what they say is, the Grubers say that there's a subconscious, and then there's a higher self, and then there's but in regards to the law of one, there is no subconscious, right? There's no higher conscious. There's no Christ consciousness, right? We don't need those labels. So take those labels, put them aside. There's a singular consciousness that we all are a part of. And so it is available. So the great news is it's available to us all. That's the great news. It is available to us all, right? And as we speak, this showgram goes on, there's an expansion. That's what the law of one also says, right? When the hearts and minds come together, there's an expansion. Right? So the law of one says there's existence, right? There can be. There's no such place as non-existence. There's no such place as non-life, right? So there's that, and there's also the law of nothing can be static, right? Nothing can be static, right? So they're telling us there's constant movement, right? There's constant shift. It even goes down to our basic level, the atoms, the protons, and the neurons all spinning around, right? That's the law of one. Everything has to be moving. Everything has to be growing. When one cell turns into two, that's the law of one. Right? That growing, that expansion. This world will be a better place because of what we're talking about here. We all need to have these kind of conversations. This is so important to humanity to have these, to connect to not only consciousness, but also the physical beings also, right? So these off-planet beings, they are out there. So, one of the questions that we are not the smartest species in the universe, right? There's a segment of like the population that think that we're the only life in the universe, right? And that's just, we're a really poor species, right? Right? Because we still kill each other over God. We still kill each other over religion. We still kill each other over borders. We still kill each other over cultures and nationalities, which is like, galactically speaking, is probably the dumbest thing. Killing every time we do that, there's a that's a distraction to the consciousness, right? Right. That's why there's a news narrative. Like the greatest way to expand your consciousness is turn off the news, right? Right. Right. Because they talk about poverty, spiritual consciousness, war, spiritual consciousness, right? Like if there's blood in the streets, that's consciousness. So instead of going like this to consciousness, we're going away. They're steering us away from this beautiful place called consciousness, right? Right. So the basic thing is don't turn off the show, but to turn off CNN, turn off Sky News, turn off BBC, turn off Fox News, to turn off all those other narratives. That's just a narrative. Even the government has this narrative. The food industry has a narrative that doesn't serve the human spirit, that doesn't serve the human consciousness, right? So really what we have to do is get out of that colonial world and start living in our own beautiful consciousness, connected to everything beautiful. Consciousness is feeling beautiful about ourselves, right? Right. About who we are, what we are, where we're going, even as a species. We talk about the 7 generations ahead. So as we go on, as we move on, we always have to think about the future, but the future in a more not linear, but more dynamic and a really more spiritual. When we live it, they will live it, right? Because what's happening to us is already happening to the next 7 generations. Because even in our DNA, the coding in our DNA will change because of what we connect to here. That's what they don't want us to know. But when we connect to it, our physical bodies change. And if our physical bodies change, guess what happens? The spiritual mirrors itself, the law of one, because everything is happening now, right? So we have to start thinking that what happens to us happens to the next 7 generations. So that's why we have to, they call it evolution, right? So and like here's the thing with evolution. We don't have to wait for you. Right? We have to live it right now. Right? Evolution it isn't a future event. It's happening right here, right now. That's the law of one. The law of one begins right here. Begins with what we speak and what we connect to. Living in that beautiful, beautiful dynamic. Right? Okay, I've spoken for a long.
That's
Oh,
really beautiful. You know, you really helped me get
yeah, yeah,
outside of perfectionism and just saying, like, yeah, like stepping into this idea. I mean, understanding the connection that, like, if you're attempting to do something like remote view something
yeah, yeah. Right.
or doing all these things, it's like, huh, you know, people can levitate, and we wanted to ask you about like how do you think people levitate, or how do they get out of a wheelchair after they've been sick? What happens? And that's the thing, like at some level
That's all. That's all.
we have this nexus point where if we allow, and you talked about this in the pre-call a lot about your imagination, so like if you allow yourself to
Right,
step
right.
into a world where Zenka is this, or
Yeah,
like, because you're always saying, careful about the rules you're making. Because I'm like, oh, well, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to, you know,
exactly.
he's like, why are you saying it's hard? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you making those rules? So
Imagination.
anyway,
Imagination.
yeah.
Imagine. Write this down. Imagination is listening. We can't have imagination without listening, right? That's the other half. But I'm not sure if I've ever heard any guy speak about that, right? You know, listening is consciousness, right? Right. Everything is happening here, right now, right? I'm sorry, that's the coffee maker going on. It's like 3:30 in the morning now, so sorry about that.
Well, tell us more about listening. Yeah, and that's just very interesting.
So that's why I told those stories earlier because that, that listening, they were listening the whole time, right? Right. We call it prayer. Prayer's fine, but what we're really doing is we're really connecting. We're asking for connection. The human spirit is that's what it wants. That's what it needs to connect, right? Right. And so when we're wounded, we connect to lust, we connect to violence, we connect to drugs, we connect to drinking. That's a problem, but not the problem, right? The problem is what we're connecting to and how we're connecting, right? Right. And like they call it love, right? So that there's these woo woo people out there, and I love those guys, man. But practical is spiritual. Spiritual is practical. That's the law of one here. Write that down. So practical is spiritual. Spiritual. The law of one says connection. Well, guess what? Love is. It's the same thing. So when we connect to the world around us, that there's an expansion there. And the beautiful thing is, the thing that they never tell you is that it's always available to us. Right. Right. That's the most exciting thing. When I finally found that out through the fire, the trees, Mother Earth, that they're constantly listening. And then that expanded to the off planet. They were always listening, right? They're here right now. They're here. Oh, did you do the radio thing? Oh, you're hold on, you're muted.
Sorry, I was gonna pull up your Facebook so to show that, but I'm not logged in. So I'm gonna share the Facebook in the chat and also on the YouTubes. But yeah, so the radios were talking before the show, but yeah, like I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
get what you're saying. Like there's a point where you said this to me over and over in the last 2 weeks. You're like, listening is everything.
Yeah.
Listening is everything. And that's what Andrew said. Andrew went into a cave for like
Yeah.
okay, so now they're
I think because I told you that they were listening right now. We called them in. They're look at it. Look at them. Now they're lighting up. Yeah, look at them. We love you. Look at that. They're all going to light up right now because they're listening. Yeah. So, yeah, right.
But the point you're making is that the universe is always listening. And if you haven't connected with the universe, then you are not engaged in your consciousness. You're not
Yeah.
engaged in anything because you're not listening.
Right.
You're not
Right.
engaged. You're not engaged with any. They're not engaged with the universe.
Right.
Because
Right. Right.
right there. Their answers are right there.
Right. Right.
You just
But oh
ask.
my God, they're lighting up back there. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. They're lighting up back there. Look at them. Wow.
And
Look at
it's
that.
meaning and love that it really spikes up. You're right. Like,
Love. Look. Love. Love. And then they're going to respond because that's what they do. The universe responds. That's what they do. Consciousness responds because that's what it does. Love responds because that's what it does. Connection responds because that's what it does. The water responds because that's what it does. Over and over and over again. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? You know, the other thing too is, you know, back in the day, I was real. I'm the survivor of 17 suicide attempts, right? So I was on the brink a long time. My first suicide attempt was at age 7, right? That I decided that I just didn't want to be here. So there was a conversation later on that says, well, what would have happened if you know, if that happened? Well, you know, so the law of one says there's no death, right? That's the basic fearful groundwork of religion, right? They use fear to control the thing. But in actuality, the law of one says we don't leave this world. We just wake up in the next. That's it. But I love you. There's no greater. That's a definition for love, right? Right? We just wake up. That's it, right? There's no death. The physical body goes back. I get that, right? But the consciousness lives on. So guess what? We just go to the next world. You know, that's it, right? And you know, once we really understand that, right? Once I really got that, then that fear thing, it just went away, right? I don't need to live in fear anymore. I don't need to drink anymore. I don't need to do any of these things. I get to live now. I get to breathe that consciousness. I get to share with you, right? And as I'm talking to you, they're listening. They're right here. They're talking in my ear right now. So that's why, you know, they told me to tell the tree story because they said, because the tree and consciousness is the same thing. They're like, tell that tree story again. You know, I'm like, okay, good. Yeah, great. You know, because it's really that simple because you don't need to pay thousands of dollars to go to a seminar to listen to a guru. You know, go to your nearest tree because there's a field around the tree. There's an electromagnetic field. We are electromagnetic beings, right? Right. Well, so is a tree, right? So you connect the two, and guess what happens, right? Right. There's a symmetry there. There's an alignment there. There's love there. There's consciousness there. There's connection there. All again, over and over. Love, consciousness, connection here. Write that down. It's all the same thing. Just because we look different, that doesn't mean that there's any consciousness. It's not different in you or in you. It's all the same thing. And you know, when we feel that, when we really understand what we're really feeling, is that beautiful expansion because that's what we're here to do. The universe is a better place because of what we're here to do. The next 7 generations are better because of these conversations about the love, connection, and consciousness. It's all the same thing. You know, and it's all reflected in everything that we do. So our bioelectric fields is the unseen consciousness that is around us all the time, and everything has that. So you know, they talk about ley lines, and you know, like I remember back in the day, so ley lines are a river of energy, right? So you know, we have a biomagnetic field, right? We're human batteries, right? You know, right? We certainly we give out like 0.07 beat. Every cell gives out 0.7 BTUs, right? Heat, energy, same thing, right? You know, we're batteries, right? So when we connect right now, I am connecting to both of you right now, right? Right. That's consciousness right there, right? Well, when we walk on Mother Earth, when we connect to the ley lines, and when I finally felt the ley line, when I finally listened to what these woo-woo people were saying, I'm like, they're right. They're absolutely right. And ley lines are Earth's biomagnetic field, right? Right. A tree has a biomagnetic field, right? And when we connect to that, we feel better, right? Our physical bodies feel better. Like if you want to heal, go to the places that heal us, right? And this is not a pharmaceutical, right? Pharmaceuticals are you know, there's a certain small percentage of pharmaceuticals are needed, right? I need to say that for like the lawyers, right? So right. But in actuality, the other 90%, we change our biology, physical, and then we change our spirit, and that changes the spiritual because everything mirrors each other at all times. So we go to those places that heal. So we connect to Mother Earth, right? Connect, love. Yeah. Mother Earth, love. Consciousness, love. Connection, love. Right? Consciousness. You know, again, these are constantly repeating over and over and over again. And so when we start seeing this, when we start hearing this, when we start living this, right? Don't wait. Listening is not about waiting. It's about doing, right? Right. So we are engineered to be dyslexic, right? Right. 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 The Earth. So like we're waiting here, you know, the auditory, right? But the consciousness is talking to us all the time, and when we learn to listen and listen to learn, that's when the world opens up, right? And look at them going on back there. Look at, see, yeah, look at it. They're lighting up back there. Yeah.
Yeah, they liked that part when you started talking about that. That's so cool. So this is kind of like
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So
yeah, this is kind of like this scalar idea of this like well, we're measuring trees and everything already. Like trees are we were measure heart math is measuring the trees.
Yeah.
Send them stuff, send nutrients.
That's a scalar.
What?
That's scalar.
That's scalar. So I don't really understand scalar, but that's so you're saying is that's the law of one. Everything's connected. So you always. Right. So what about connecting with the? What about connecting? What if you want to go somewhere, like to remote you or teleport or change your life or whatever?
Let me change it. Kind of explain that a little bit. Like change your life. Like.
Well. Go ahead.
Change your life. Connect to those things that give us life. Right. So, so there's another narrative out there that says, like if you want to get better, go to a doctor. If you want to get holy, go to church. And just say, so the law of one, write this down. No judgments, no opinions, right? Because that'll block us we're blocking ourselves, right? Judgment, opinions, all self-sabotage, right? We live in an adversarial world. They set that up this way, right? So I can't connect to you, right? Right? Politics, the same thing. That's so keep the people divided, and they'll never grow spiritually, right? Right. Keep the people sick. Tell the people that they're sick. Tell the people that you need me. That's what church is. You need me. Jesus needs you. You go into that bad place if you don't believe in me. Just say no, thank you. That's all you say. We don't need an opinion. Consciousness doesn't need an opinion. It needs connection. we don't need another opinion. We need connection, right? So once we begin to connect, right, that other conversation becomes irrelevant. Right? And that beautiful connection that we have, we begin to feel that. And then we begin to work with that. And then those other conversations, remote viewing, now we can start that, right? There's a process here, right? Right? Consciousness is for us, it's a process, right? To really understand that everything is right here, right now, right? There's another narrative, another world that we live in that doesn't serve us, that doesn't serve consciousness, right? Right? It keeps us in fear. It keeps us sick, right? The pharmaceuticals, disasters. The food industry, disastrous, right? Religion, absolutely disastrous, right, to the human spirit, right? Because we don't need religion to connect to that great consciousness, right? Right? Again, go outside now, the more we say love, the more we draw closer to this thing, right? The more we listen, the more we connect to this beautiful world, right? The more we speak from our hearts, the more we heal ourselves, right? Right? The closer we are to this beautiful thing called life. And again, that's the basis for consciousness is life, right? So in indigenous dialogue, that's why we go to ceremony, right? The protection of life, which is really the connection of that consciousness, right? Right? When we talk to the ancestors, right? Right? That's a really indigenous thing, right? Talking to the ancestors, speaking with the ancestors, help asking, I used to think that we need to do ceremony, we need to do on the sweat lodge, we need to do all this. And we do need to do that, but really, the ancestors, like everything else, they're here all the time. Right? Right? Right.
Yeah, and that's what I realized with the radios too. Welcome to Alan from New Realities. He is one of our broadcast partners, and he may be popping on tonight. We'll have to see. But
Okay.
he's a great remote viewer too. And so it's so interesting to hear your perspective on it and to hear your perspective on consciousness, because like I explained at the beginning, we're going to open it up right now to members.
Okay.
Ask any questions that they might have. So if you're a member and you're on the reactions, you can raise your hand and I'll pull you down to ask a question. So and for those of you that are listening that want to come in the back room, you can go to our lightnet.org. But so I'm just really interested at LightNet. You definitely fit with our philosophy that, hey, consciousness doesn't cost any money. It's not like you don't have to be special to understand it and to utilize it and to flow with it and to connect with it and to do incredible things. And you're also very aligned with us is because you're very hands-on and experiential. I don't know what you want to share, but I mean, you've told me stuff that I'm just like, wow, that I've never talked to anyone about doing those things. And it's so cool because you're saying like, hey, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try it. And I just want to encourage everyone who's listening today to practice connecting, like take those moments. And I was thinking today about it. It's like, where is that time when we pray, when we listen, when we imagine? Like you were talking earlier, like where do we allow because I was talking about my healing journey with my son and like my relationship not being good. And then I was like, I didn't believe that it could get better. And I couldn't even visualize it being good. So I had no imagination on it. And I had almost even given up. I was like, oh my God. And now it's like so amazing. He's so darling. He's so loving and so cute. So it's like, this is so amazing. So anyway, I just want to honor you for writing children's stories, for doing sweat lodges, for teaching me, you know, like being like all this stuff. Like, it's amazing that how practical you've gotten with this knowledge and how far your abilities and your consciousness have grown.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, and you know, remember one thing: spiritual is practical. Practical is spiritual. Again, we're allowed to be anything that we want to be, right? Right. You know, education is one thing, right? And you don't need an education to do what we're doing, to do what we're talking about, right? Begin to live this. That's where imagination really steps in. Really begin to think, really begin to realize, right? Once we cross that threshold, your life will never be the same again. That's like, I don't speak in absolutes, but that's an absolute. Like, once we really to utilize and understand imagination, our life will never be the same again. And we really have to believe in this, right? This beautiful imagination, right? So when an image comes to our head, right? The consciousness doesn't do random, right? Right. The universe doesn't do random, right? Oh, you have this really weird thought. Well, the idea is they're guiding us to help us to connect to that thought. I mean, you may not understand it, but don't wholesale reject it either, right? Right? Because they're always speaking. The universe is always speaking to us, right? And it's like being in a river, right? Right? And saying, like, well, why aren't I getting wet, right? Right? Being in a river, or being in like the incoming tide, be like, I'm just waiting for the water, right? Being in a hurricane, waiting for the wind, right? It's just So once we're consciously aware, then we're like, oh my God, we're in a river right now. Wow, it's really flowing fast, right? And like, that's the cool thing. So once we realize that, once we're in that river, right, our lives will never be the same again. Everything else, like this outer world, that this colonial world, that this like Donald Trump thing, and like the World Health Organization. This becomes irrelevant. They are irrelevant, right? Right. Imagine that they are irrelevant. If there's one message that is telling me right now, stay away from politics, right? Stay away from the jabs. Stay away from all these things that are trying to kill us, to kill these consciousness, right? So, right.
Yeah.
Right. Politics is the worst thing, right? The worst thing, because it's adversarial, right? They need to set that up, right? That's why they did that. You know what? If we keep them fighting, they'll never connect to this beautiful thing called life, and this beautiful thing called consciousness, because you're always reaching out for something else and something better, right? That's part of the sick mind consciousness, saying all these beautiful things are already happening, like being in the river and not knowing you're in the river, right? It's already happening. Consciousness said it's already here. And like, going back to the TV thing, that there's 5,000 channels, right? It's all happening now, right? Right. Everything you could ever want is happening right now, right? Everything. So we don't need to have everything set up. Well, if I have enough money, if I have this, if I have that, like, if I meet like a good partner, like, then I'll be happy, right? Well, happiness, love, connection, consciousness is all the same thing, right? That's the law of one, right there. It's all happening now. You have to step into it. Imagine that's happening right now, and your life will never be the same, because once we hit, so consciousness works, um, there's no reverse to consciousness, right? Like, once you're there, once you believe, then there's no way to unbelieve, right? Right, right. So, like, once you're in a river, right, you don't feel the river. You're like, oh yeah, I wish it was wet. And then all of a sudden you realize it's wet, and it's running, and it's flowing. You know, once you're there, like you can never unbelieve that, right? You can never say like, oh well, I'm not in the river, I'm not doing this, but there's a colonial world, the political world, the like the food world, that's going to take you, that really tries their best to take you away from that beautiful consciousness. So the time we talk about food, so eat healthy, right? So they told me 7 years ago that I had 5 years to live because I had three widowmakers. I'm not sure to be here right now. Three widowmakers. I had one blockage at like 98%. And I went to the cardiologist. They said, well, your heart's pumping at 40%, right? And it's only going one way. And I'm just like, wow, and this is just part of my journey. Guess what? I stopped believing in the medical world, and I started believing in this beautiful thing called consciousness, right? Right. So congestive heart failure, that's what I had. Right now, I have no sign of congestive heart failure, right? No sign. I'm back up to like 90%, right? But the medical world told me something else. The medical world is happy to see me die, right? Right. They're happy to see me die. Consciousness wants you to live. So, like, I really had to have that leap of faith, right? Eat healthy, right? Well, there's some things I had to do. Eat healthy, right? Fast food, horrible for you. GMO is terrible because they're taking the nutrients out of the food that connects us to consciousness, right? Right, right, right. They're blocking. They're trying to stop. Right? Eat healthy. And live this beautiful life. Don't wait, right? Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Don't wait for him or her, for the money and the romance, or just don't wait for the perfect situation. Live it right now. Live as if you are a beautiful person. And once we get there, right, it's such a beautiful place, right? I stopped believing the narrative that the colonial world was giving me, right? They said white people are beautiful. Native Americans can't be athletes, right? Right? The people with cleft palates, they'll never speak good. They'll never be beautiful. They'll never do this, and I believe that narrative. Right? Right? When I started to believe in something else, when I started to believe that I was handsome and I was beautiful, not in a conceited way, but in a really beautiful spiritual way, this beautiful connection, right? Right? Then I started to see other people as beautiful too, no matter what they look like, in a wheelchair, blind, beautiful, beautiful people, right? So we can never unsee those things, and this is all happening. The perspective changes with the connection we have to this thing called life, right? Right, connect to this, and the love that we feel, the love that we have, and more importantly, the love that we share changes the world, changes the entire universe. Across the universe right now, there's a beautiful expansion right now. The people listening to us right now, beautiful expansion, right? Right. Even the people around them, even the people in China, even the people in Japan, just, the frequency has changed, right? Because of what we did right now. And that's how beautiful, and consciousness works right now. It's all happening right now, right? So, like we have this conversation, like consciousness, like is in there and say, you know what, we're going to wait about a week for this expansion to happen. No, it's all happening now. Everything we could ever want is happening now. Right? And if you don't believe me, that's okay. But what I'm asking you to do is really, really connect. And they showed me the indigenous way to connect. And like, here's the thing: we're all indigenous. How about that, right? The traditionalists don't like that, but we're all indigenous. So no matter what color you are, what culture you are, what religion background you come from. If you have addiction issues, you're still human, right? Right. So we have to get back in that place to step into our humanness again, right? Right. Right. That we are beautiful people, right? That we can change the world. So we're waiting for other people to change in order for us to be better, right? Right. Right. More money, then I'll be okay. No, that's not the way it works. That's the old narrative, right? Waiting is not consciousness; it's something else. I don't know what it is, but it's just something else, right? Right. Consciousness is right here, right now, knowing that I am in a river right now, right? Like they're telling me, speaking in really uh, simple terms, right? Listen and talk about water. All right, so I guess I'll talk about water. So tell me, okay, listen to the water, right? Right. Like whales sing, right? Like in Hawaii, they speak, and you can hear it up in the Aleutian Islands, like up in the Bering Strait, right? No, right, right. So start listening, right? So start listening to everything around you. Start speaking to the water. Start speaking to the trees. Are there any questions? I'm just kind of going on.
We have about 15 minutes and there's
Okay.
questions. But this is so fascinating. So this is so fascinating. Like listen, observe the world around you because all the info's right there. Dustin, you're up first. Then we'll take Bethany's questions and then Sharon.
What?
And that's probably all we'll have time for. So welcome.
So quick.
Dustin.
So
okay, I was just wondering, how would you build a bridge between the old generation and the new generation and the ancestors?
Live it. So the ancestors and the next 7 generations, they're all here right now. So we have to live that right here, right now. So here, perfect, great question. Imagine there's an ancestor right here, right, right, and imagine there's the next 7 generations right here. So this is what it looks like right here, right? Live that, right? Don't act as if it's out there, right? Act as if it's already happening here, right? Right. Offer, live, pray. Do it. I'm indigenous. I just do it the indigenous way because that's the way that I'm most comfortable, right? Make those offerings like they're talking to you right now. They've been talking to you, right? Right. Right. And I'm not sure if you're listening, right? Right. Because if there's any questions about what's happening out there, then we're not listening in here, right? Right? Because there's always a deeper, right? We can always go deeper, right? So outside our ears, right? That's the physical, but there's also a spiritual thing too, right? So make the physical offerings to listen spiritually, right? And know that they're already here, right? Know that just talk to them as if there's a friend across the room. Literally imagine that. Maybe get a picture and just talk to the picture. They're already there, right? They're not far away. They've never been far away, right? And so are the next 7 generations. They're in like a waiting. They're in like a circle pattern. But speak to them, and you know what? They speak to each other too, right? Right.
Great question.
Yeah, great
Yeah,
question.
so
Okay.
the next one is Bethany, and she's acting like me, man. I love Bethany so much. She's like asking four
Awesome.
questions once.
Okay.
That
All
was
right.
really good.
Okay. All right.
And then we'll get to Sharon. So Bethany, how would you advise to connect and become aware of crossed over loved ones?
Talk to them. Talk to them. Talk to them. Listen. Act as if it's the same thing over and over and over again. So they're constantly talking to you, right? Right. So it's not like we have to. So my experience is that there's no real ritual. We'll have to go to a card reader. We don't have to do like all these like exotic colonial things. When get all dramatic and theatrical and be like, "I'm calling you in. I'm calling you. I'm doing all this. I'm doing this. Like sage and like all this stuff." No, do that like if you want to. But if everything's happening right here, right now, then the only one not listening or can't listen is you. So the greatest way to listen is to connect. Write that down, right? Because we all have the capabilities of hearing them, seeing them, and having them with us at all times. It's really that simple. Like we don't have to pay thousands of dollars to go to a meeting and be like, that's evolution, right? Some of us are like a little bit farther ahead, and some of us are still stuck, voting, right? Right. Like the people that vote, the people that are watching CNN, like they're riding the slow bus to consciousness, right? You know, you know. But again, it's the same thing, right? Eat healthy, pray, talk to trees, talk to the waters. These are doorways and pathways to this beautiful consciousness. And guess what's also there? Your relatives, the ancestors, they're already there. They're already talking to you. So, when people ask me for help, I'm like, they're right behind you. They're right next to you. The only person here not listening is you. Right? Right. And just because we don't know how to listen doesn't mean that they're not speaking. Right? 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 So they're talking and you're not listening. Right? Right? And because we haven't been taught how to listen. And this is not a good or bad thing. So we just say go. Right? So you're not a bad person. Like if we haven't had that perspective shift, right? This is the shift, awareness, consciousness, right? That's like, so this is on you. That's like the great news, right? The greatest news is this is on you. It is available for you, right? Right. Right. Again, you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to go here, to go there, to go to a meeting. You don't have to pay that. All you have to do is listen. Right. Right. Eat healthy. Hug a tree. Sit in the water. Pray hard. Praying is offering, right? So um, but the other half of offering, the other half of prayer is listening, right? Going back to the tree story, right? And sometimes it takes a little time to do that, right? It took us 6 weeks, right? Right? But that's okay, right? Right? That's okay because that was in preparation for me, right? So consciousness likes consistent. The universe likes consistent, right? Right. Start, consistent, continue. That's the way it works, right? And that's the same thing with the ancestors. That's the same thing, right? Start, continue, be consistent. Right? The universe will respond. It has to respond. Consciousness has to respond after that. So consciousness again, it's not an event, right? It's here right now, but it's not an event. Start, continue, to be consistent, right? Right. And remember my tree story because sometimes it takes 6 weeks, right? Maybe so, but like there's an elder, and check this out. So an elder said, uh, maybe they spoke to you the first day, and I'm like, and I just wasn't, and I couldn't hear it, right? Right. Start, be continue, consistent. That's how we learn how to listen right there. Right, now that's the framework. That's the foundation, right? Because people ask once, and you know, when we ask, right, we're not in the results business, right? Like we think we are, right? Kind of self-centered, egocentric kind of thing, you know. Although they're concerned about our personal issues, right? What's happening? What they're really concerned is connection and being heard, right? That's the biggest thing. The ancestors, right? They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. And guess what? We want to be heard and we want to be listened to. So what's different on the other side in the next world? There's no difference at all. We want to be heard. We want to be listened. You know, when we feel heard, we feel better, right? We feel like I matter. We feel like we matter, right? Right. Right. When they're sending you, like again, the ancestors, I guarantee you, every one of you out there, the ancestors have been talking to you. The loved ones have been talking to you the entire time, right? Right. 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 And so there's a few basic steps, you know, and you know it takes work, right? And, you know, we have to do something. We just can't sit in a room all day and just like, you know, there's some active things. So the physical and the spiritual, like we have to mirror that. We have to really live that, right? The physical and spiritual, right? But like, you know, it's a place. It's a place on Sundays that people go. That they're spiritual on Sundays, but you know, on like Monday, but like they're back doing the same old thing again, right? You know, like they wait for one day to get holy. Well, we're really this beautiful connection, right? Let's be that beautiful connection, right? That's the deal, right? You don't need to wait for a guy like me or a medium or like, you know, become it yourself, right? Again, that's the beautiful thing. You can become anything in this world. It's so beautiful and so powerful. We can become anything that we want at any moment, right? Right. Don't remain static, right? Right. Static kills the consciousness, right? Right. It blocks it, right? Right. Right. Start, continue, be consistent, right? That's the way to consciousness, right? And it's also physical and spiritual. That's a beautiful combination. This is a long conversation. I mean, we're gonna have like 10 hours of this, right? You know.
Oh man, this has been amazing, Standing Bear. I'm just like, and you're, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I want to clip that out. I want to clip that out. I want to clip that out. And this, you're
Yeah.
doing it enough so we can really live this. And we're going to be doing the Purpose Lab graduation with Sharon and the others, the founding members on Saturday. And this is actually what our research said was like basically is you start and then you just keep taking one step forward. It's not like the mountain. It's not like you have to scale a mountain, but you could scale a mountain. But we are running out of time. But Sharon, welcome, and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Sure.
Hi, thank you very much. It's been wonderful, Standing Bear. It's been wonderful listening to you and learning from you. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this. My question is about consciousness itself, in a sense that do you have the ability to just go outside your body at will?
Yeah.
I've had a couple of occasions in life where I have been outside my body looking at myself, but they're usually when I had a high fever or something like that. So the other day I was sitting, and for a brief second, I was standing beside myself, and then I was back inside my body. So that's my question. Do you do that? Do you have those experiences? And if so, how do you do that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Use your imagination. So what I'm hearing is that they've already given you some beautiful gifts, right? So you've already experienced it, right? So that experience is the doorway. Keep going. Start, continue, and and be consistent. So this is where imagination really steps in. Imagination is an integral part of our consciousness, right? And that's what they teach, that they indoctrinate us into something else, right? So we're just taking it back. We're stepping into this beautiful thing, this beautiful new world, right? And this is part of you, right? It's part of you. Right? You don't have to become anything else. You don't have to go anywhere else, right? That's the beautiful thing. All you have to do is imagine it. Do you believe in your dreams? Do you believe in imagination? Do you believe that that was a gift that they gave to you? Well, then keep going. Well, then keep going. Start, continue, be consistent, right? And allow this is a process. This is not like an event, right? So just keep going, just keep going. You're the one that's going to write the next chapter, not me, right? I'll just be like, look, the door's over there. I just need you to walk through it, right? So this is a journey of the spirit, the self, the soul, to really connect to all those other people. And there's a lot of people talking to you right now, right? I'm hearing a lot of things around you. So maybe we talk about that later. But anyway, yeah. So just continue. Like the only person that's going to stop is you. So don't stop. Keep going. Just keep going down the road. You'll be fine.
Thank you so much, Standing Bear. This has been amazing. Oh, they're even clapping too.
Yes. Whoa.
So cool.
It's a confirmation right there. We love you guys. So.
Yeah. So you can find Standing Bear at Wayne Snellgrove on Facebook or his Instagram, Standing 71, which I love because it's almost like standing wave. And then you also have wearethemedicine.shop. This is his shop. This is going to be where he's going to be. He just started selling t-shirts and things, and you're writing children's books now too, right?
I am. I'm an author. I do all this really spiritual stuff. And, a couple of years ago, they said, why don't you write something lighter? And I had no idea what to write. I just follow, right? So, then I started writing these children's books and it's just what, and so it's really been a beautiful way for me to connect to my little one, right? To reconnect. So the main character is a little baby bear named Snacks. So that's a little teaser right there. And Snacks has all sorts of adventures and meets a little chipmunk named Refill, and meets another little otter baby little girl named Lily Pad. They have all these great adventures and they watched a butterfly being born. That was like the last chapter. And then I know the chrysalis, right? Chrysalis, so it's really spiritual kind of thing. So there's indigenous teachings that help children get connected to the world around them. So.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much, Standing Bear. This has been so amazing. We've enjoyed it. You really have a way of just really expanding my brain to the end. And that's kind of the conclusion I'm getting to. It's like, we call this show Unlimited, and we know that the consciousness is unlimited, but it literally is unlimited.
Yeah, right.
And so you're putting me in this space. And so it's like, I feel like with Adam and all these different things, it's like, I'm starting to say, okay, cool. Like, what do I want to create? Like, now that there's no victims, now that I know that I can have this conversation, because there's always someone there to answer you. There's always a tree. There's always a thought. There's always a thing. And it's like about connection. There's always a person. There's always a something, right? So Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Standing Bear, for joining us. I really appreciate you waking up at 2 to be with us in this international settings. The radios are also saying,
oh my God, look at them. We love you guys. We love you guys. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. They're lining up. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we look forward to more experiments with you and more contact experiences. You know, you've done so much cool stuff in your life, Standing Bear, and we thank you so much. For all of those that are listening, we're going to be starting the Impossible Coaching this year, where Adham is going to be working on Saturday mornings with everyone. With us, we're going to be attending too this year. So it's a whole year of impossible to possible coaching. And it's along these lines of saying, hey, you can do this. Like, where are you going? You know, and we'll come to, and we'll be there to support you in all your endeavors in 2025. Again, you can go to ourlightnet.org or check for the link in the comments. But thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you Saturday. The members are going to be coming to the Purpose Lab graduation. It's going to, graduation is happening for the Purpose Lab founders. So we'll be looking forward to talking to you guys soon. And we look forward to more good, healthy food happening in the world, less colonialism in the world, and just embracing this chance that we all have to connect with each other and love each other in this process. So
lots of love and